You have been giving people ammunition your whole life and you did not even realize it. Every confession you made thinking it would bring you closer to someone. Every weakness you revealed at 2 in the morning because the moment felt safe. Every fear you handed to another person like a gift wrapped in trust. You thought you were building intimacy. You were building an arsenal. And the worst part is you still do not know which of those people are going to use it against you and which ones are simply waiting for the right moment to try. Here is the truth that most people never figure out until it is too late. Being known is not the same thing as being loved. Being understood is not the same thing as being protected. And every single detail you have ever shared about yourself is now sitting inside someone else's mind where you have absolutely no control over what they do with it. You handed them a key to a room you can never lock again. That is not intimacy. That is exposure. And there are people in your life right now who have been collecting those keys for years. Most people confuse vulnerability with connection. They think that opening up, showing their soft spots, admitting their fears, confessing their insecurities, they think this is what creates bonds between human beings. And in a tiny number of cases with a tiny number of people, maybe it does. But strategic people understand something different. They understand that vulnerability shared is leverage surrendered. When you tell someone what scares you, what hurts you, what keeps you awake at night, you are not building a bridge. You are handing them a map with every weak point marked in red. And most people in your life are not actively malicious. That is the part that makes this so dangerous. They are not plotting against you in some dark room. They are just ordinary people with ordinary shifting interests. And when their interests eventually diverge from yours, and they will, because interests always shift, everything you ever told them becomes a tool they can pick up without even thinking about it. They do not have to be evil. They just have to want something that conflicts with what you want. And suddenly that thing you told them in confidence becomes the leverage they need. Think about the people you have confided in over the years. Think about the things you told them. Your deepest fears. Your biggest regrets. The mistakes you made that you are ashamed of. The people you hurt. The moments you were weak. Now think about what would happen if even one of those people decided to use that information against you. Not because they hate you. Just because they want something and your secret happens to be the most efficient way to get it. That is not paranoia. That is pattern recognition. And if you are honest with yourself, you have probably already seen it happen at least once. Someone you trusted used something you told them against you. Not in some dramatic betrayal. Just in a quiet moment when their interests shifted and your vulnerability became convenient. That moment taught you something, but you probably did not learn the right lesson. You probably told yourself that you just trusted the wrong person. That next time you would choose better. That the problem was the person, not the act of sharing. But here is what I want you to understand. The problem was never the person. The problem is the act. The problem is the belief that vulnerability creates safety. It does not. It creates exposure. And exposure is not safety. Exposure is a target. Seneca understood this thousands of years ago. He warned about the dangers of confidence, about the way people hand themselves over to others thinking they are building friendship when really they are building a cage. He drew a sharp line between true friendship and strategic alliance, and most people never even see that line. They treat every close relationship as if it is friendship. They pour themselves into people who are actually just allies of convenience. And when the alliance shifts, everything they shared becomes a weapon. True friendship is extraordinarily rare. If you have one genuine friend in your entire life, you are already wealthier than almost anyone walking the earth. But most of the people you call friends are not friends. They are associates. They are allies of circumstance. They are people whose interests happen to align with yours right now, in this season, in this context. And when the context changes, the alliance changes. That is not betrayal. That is just how human relationships actually work when you strip away the sentiment. The danger is not that people shift. People always shift. The danger is that you gave them permanent information about yourself in a temporary relationship. You treated a seasonal ally like a lifelong confidant, and you handed them pieces of yourself that you can never get back. So let me give you 7 principles that will change the way you move through every relationship from this moment forward. These are not theories. These are survival mechanics for anyone who refuses to be a target. Principle number 1. Your mouth is the only door that cannot be forced. Everything else can be broken into. Your home can be entered. Your phone can be hacked. Your reputation can be attacked. But the one thing no one can take from you is information you never spoke. The moment you say it, it belongs to the world. The moment you share it, you lose custody of it. Most people treat their inner world like an open house. They let anyone walk through. They leave every drawer unlocked. They think transparency is a virtue, that being an open book makes them trustworthy and authentic. But authentic people get eaten alive in a world full of strategic people. The people who survive and thrive are not the ones who share everything. They are the ones who share almost nothing. They understand that silence is not dishonesty. Silence is sovereignty. When you keep something to yourself, you own it completely. The moment you speak it, you enter a partnership with everyone who heard it. And you do not get to choose how they manage their half of that partnership. You do not get to decide when they bring it up, who they repeat it to, or how they frame it. You surrendered that right the moment you opened your mouth. So the rule is simple. Before you share anything personal, ask yourself one question. Can I live with this information being used against me? Not will it be. Can I live with the possibility? If the answer is no, and it almost always should be no, then keep your mouth closed. Your silence is not cold. Your silence is controlled. And control is the foundation of everything. Principle number 2. Friends are more dangerous than enemies. This sounds counterintuitive, and that is exactly why it is true. An enemy attacks from the outside. You see them coming. You prepare. You defend. But a friend attacks from inside the perimeter. They already have access. They already know your patterns, your weaknesses, your schedule, your fears. And the reason friends are so dangerous is not because they are secretly evil. It is because friends are humans, and humans are subject to envy, resentment, and shifting interests. Envy does not come from strangers. Envy comes from proximity. The people closest to you are the ones most likely to feel the sting of comparison. When you succeed, they feel the gap. When you advance, they feel the distance. And that quiet discomfort does not always stay quiet. Sometimes it hardens into something cold. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it collects. And the information you gave them when you were close becomes the instrument they use when the closeness turns to competition. This is something Machiavelli understood at a level that most people still cannot accept. He observed that former enemies are often more reliable than friends because former enemies have something to prove. They have to earn their position. They have to demonstrate loyalty through action. A friend, on the other hand, feels entitled to their closeness. They believe they already have your trust, so they stop trying to earn it. And when the relationship sours, they have more ammunition than any enemy ever could. Think about it. Who knows more about you? Your enemies or your friends? Your friends. By a massive margin. And that is exactly what makes them more dangerous when the relationship shifts. You do not need to cut off every friend. But you do need to stop treating friendship as a license to share everything. A friend is not a vault. A friend is a person. And people change. Principles shift. Loyalties migrate. The person you trusted 5 years ago is not necessarily the person in front of you today. So measure what you share by what they could do with it, not by what they mean to you right now. Principle number 3. Never show your wounded finger. There is a principle that goes back centuries, and it is one of the most practical things you will ever internalize. If you have a wound, you do not hold it up and show it to people. You do not point to it. You do not complain about it. You do not describe how much it hurts. You protect it. You keep it covered. You keep it out of reach. Because the moment people know where you are hurt, that is where they will reach. Not everyone. But you do not need everyone. You only need one person who is willing to press on that wound at the wrong moment, and the damage is done. Most people do exactly the opposite. They broadcast their pain. They talk about their struggles openly. They share their insecurities in the name of authenticity or vulnerability or just plain habit. And every time they do, they are pointing directly at the exact spot where they are weakest. They are essentially handing out a user manual that says, here is how to hurt me. Here is where I am soft. Here is what breaks me. Now, you might be thinking, but the people I share with would never use it against me. Maybe. But remember what I said earlier. People do not have to be malicious to hurt you. They just have to have a moment where their interests diverge from yours and your wound becomes useful. A coworker you confided in about your anxiety who later wants the promotion you are both chasing. A family member you told about your financial struggles who later wants leverage in a disagreement. A partner you shared your deepest fear with who later, in the heat of an argument, throws it directly at you. You have seen this happen. Maybe it has happened to you. And if it has not happened yet, it will. Because the wound you show is the wound that gets pressed. The solution is not to never feel pain. The solution is to never put your pain on display. Process it privately. Handle it internally. Deal with it in the quiet of your own mind. Share it only with someone who has earned that level of access through years of demonstrated discretion, and even then, share sparingly. Your wounds are not conversation pieces. They are structural vulnerabilities. And treating them as anything less is how you hand people the very tools they will use against you. Principle number 4. Compartmentalization is not coldness. It is survival. The most dangerous people you will ever meet are not the ones who know everything about everyone. They are the ones who make sure no one person knows everything about them. Compartmentalization means you control what each person in your orbit knows about you, and you make sure their knowledge is limited to what they need for the specific role they play in your life. Your coworker knows your work. Your training partner knows your fitness. Your family knows your history. But no single person gets the full picture. No one person holds all the pieces. Because the moment someone holds all the pieces, they hold all the power. Most people do the opposite. They share everything with everyone. They tell the same stories, the same fears, the same secrets to 5 different people. And then they are shocked when information they thought was confidential spreads like wildfire through their social circle. Here is the mechanism. When you tell one person something, you think you are telling one person. But that person has relationships. And in those relationships, they have patterns of sharing. And your information flows through those channels into rooms you never intended it to enter. Not because they are malicious. Just because people talk. People process. People seek validation by sharing what they know. And your secret becomes currency in their social economy. Compartmentalization prevents this. When each person only knows one dimension of you, no one has enough to construct the full picture. They have fragments. They have pieces that do not connect. And fragments are useless as leverage because they require context to be weaponized, and you have made sure no single person has the context. This is not about being fake. This is about being strategic. You can be warm, present, genuine, and engaged with every person in your life without handing them the complete blueprint of who you are. You can be real without being fully exposed. The people who think compartmentalization is dishonest are the same people who wonder why their secrets keep getting used against them. They confused transparency with safety and paid the price for it. Compartmentalization is the architecture of self-protection. Build it deliberately. Maintain it consistently. And never apologize for it. Principle number 5. Visibility is vulnerability. The most powerful position in any room is not the center of attention. The most powerful position is the corner where you can see everyone but no one is looking at you. We live in a culture that worships visibility. Everyone wants to be seen, recognized, noticed, acknowledged. And that desire is exactly what makes most people easy to manipulate. Because when you are visible, you are predictable. People can see where you are, what you are doing, what you care about, where your energy goes. And all of that is information they can use. The most powerful people operate differently. They lead from behind. They orchestrate without being the face. They influence without being the target. They understand that the person at the center of the stage is the person everyone is aiming at. The person in the shadows is the person everyone has forgotten about, and that is exactly where the real control lives. Think about who actually holds power in any organization, any family, any social group. It is rarely the person everyone points to. It is usually the person no one talks about. The one who seems peripheral but who somehow influences every major decision. The one who never seeks attention but who everyone defers to when things get serious. That person is not invisible by accident. They are invisible by design. They have learned that being seen is being targeted, and being targeted is being controlled. So they stay back. They stay quiet. They let others carry the visible weight while they maintain the invisible leverage. You can do this in your own life starting today. Stop announcing your moves before you make them. Stop seeking recognition for every good decision. Stop positioning yourself as the person who knows everything, who is always available, who is always in the middle. Step back. Let others occupy the spotlight. And use the quiet to observe, to plan, to position yourself where you actually have power rather than where you merely have attention. Attention is temporary. Mental space is power. And you cannot have mental space when you are constantly performing for an audience. Principle number 6. Never commit to anyone. This is the one that makes people the most uncomfortable, and it is also the one that will protect you the most. Most people rush to declare their loyalties. They pick a side. They pledge allegiance. They attach themselves to a person, a group, a cause, an identity. And the moment they do, they shrink their options to a fraction of what they were. When you commit to someone, you are not just saying I am with you. You are saying I am not with anyone else. You are closing doors. You are surrendering leverage. You are handing someone the power to define your position, because now your position is relative to them. If they move, you move. If they fall, you fall. If they turn against you, you are trapped because your identity is wrapped up in the commitment. Strategic people do not do this. They remain neutral. They remain independent. They maintain the freedom to move in any direction at any time. And this neutrality is not weakness. It is the ultimate form of power. Because when you are not committed to anyone, everyone has to compete for your alignment. Your value goes up because you are not already taken. You become the person that others seek to win over, and in that dynamic, you hold the leverage. Now, this does not mean you cannot have relationships. It does not mean you cannot care about people. It means you do not surrender your independence to anyone. You can be loyal without being owned. You can be committed to principles without being committed to personalities. You can stand with someone today and stand apart from them tomorrow if your judgment tells you that is the right move. The moment you let someone else define your position, you have given away your most valuable asset, which is the freedom to choose. And people will try to take this from you. They will ask you to declare. They will pressure you to pick a side. They will frame neutrality as betrayal. Do not fall for it. Neutrality is not betrayal. Neutrality is sovereignty. And anyone who tries to shame you out of it is someone who wants to control you. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them wonder where you stand. The less they know about your commitments, the more carefully they have to treat you. Principle number 7. The most powerful person in any room is the one no one truly knows. This is the master principle that ties everything together. Power is not about what you show. Power is about what you conceal. The people who are most effective in this world are not the ones who are most visible, most vocal, most transparent. They are the ones who are least known and least knowable. They are the ones whose inner world is a locked room that no one has the key to. When people cannot figure you out, they cannot control you. When they do not know what you want, they cannot manipulate your desires. When they do not know what you fear, they cannot threaten you. When they do not know what you value, they cannot use it as leverage. Mystery is not a personality trait. Mystery is a strategic position. And it is the most powerful position you can occupy in a world full of people who are desperate to be seen, known, and understood. Everyone is performing. Everyone is exposing. Everyone is handing out pieces of themselves for free. And in that environment, the person who holds back is the person who stands out. Not because they are loud. Because they are impenetrable. Think about the people you respect most. Not the ones you admire from a distance, but the ones who actually make you feel something close to awe. Chances are, you do not know everything about them. Chances are, there is a quality of depth that you cannot fully access. There is a sense that there is more to them than what you see. And that sense, that inability to fully grasp them, is exactly what gives them their power over your attention and your respect. You can become this person. Not by being cold. Not by being cruel. Not by being distant in a way that pushes people away. But by being selective about what you reveal, deliberate about what you share, and disciplined about what you keep locked away. You become unknowable not by hiding but by choosing. Choosing what enters the world and what stays in the vault. Choosing who gets access and who gets the surface. choosing when to speak and when to let the silence do the heavy lifting. This is the ruthless art that Machiavelli perfected. Not cruelty. Not manipulation for its own sake. The understanding that in a world where everyone is giving themselves away, the person who holds back holds the power. He understood that human nature is not fixed, that loyalty is conditional, that interests shift, and that the person who builds their strategy on the assumption of permanent loyalty is the person who gets destroyed when the shift comes. So he built his strategy on the opposite assumption. That people will act in their own interest. That closeness breeds both affection and resentment. That the more someone knows about you, the more ammunition they carry. And that the only way to navigate this is to control information with the same discipline that a general controls troops on a battlefield. Every piece of information about you is a soldier. You decide where it marches, who sees it, and when it deploys. Most people let their soldiers wander everywhere, reporting to anyone who asks. Strategic people keep their soldiers in formation, deployed only when needed, visible only when it serves the mission. Now I want you to think about something specific. I want you to think about the last 3 secrets you shared with someone. Not big dramatic secrets. Just personal things. Things that mattered to you. Things that if they came out in the wrong context, in front of the wrong people, would cause you damage. Maybe embarrassment. Maybe professional harm. Maybe a fracture in a relationship. Now ask yourself. Did sharing that information actually improve your life in any measurable way? Did it solve a problem? Did it create a concrete advantage? Or did it just make you feel temporarily lighter, temporarily closer, temporarily understood? Because here is the uncomfortable truth. Most sharing is not strategic. Most sharing is emotional. You do not share because it helps you. You share because it relieves you. You share because the pressure of holding something inside becomes uncomfortable, and the quickest way to release that pressure is to hand it to someone else. But the relief is temporary and the exposure is permanent. You traded a moment of emotional comfort for a lifetime of strategic vulnerability. That is a terrible trade. And you have probably made it dozens of times. The good news is that you can stop making it right now. You can decide, from this moment forward, that you will no longer use confession as a coping mechanism. That you will no longer hand people pieces of yourself just because the moment feels intimate. That you will treat your inner world like territory that must be defended rather than territory that is open for tourism. This does not mean you become a robot. It does not mean you stop feeling. It does not mean you stop connecting. It means you stop confusing emotional release with strategic wisdom. You can feel everything internally and reveal almost nothing externally. That gap, between what you feel and what you show, is where your power lives. And the wider you make that gap, the more untouchable you become. Let me tell you what happens when you start living this way. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You will want to share. The impulse will rise and you will have to sit with it, hold it, and let it pass without acting on it. This is discipline. This is the stoic composure that Marcus Aurelius practiced every single day. Not the suppression of feeling. The governance of expression. You feel fully. You reveal selectively. And over time, something shifts. You start to notice how much other people share. You start to see how much information people hand you without you even asking. And you realize that most of it is leverage that you never would have had if they had just kept their mouths closed. You start to see the game that is being played all around you, the game that you were participating in without knowing the rules. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You start to notice the coworker who overshares their insecurities and how the boss uses those insecurities to manage them. You start to notice the friend who confesses every detail of their relationship problems and how those details get recycled as gossip in the group. You start to notice the family member who reveals their financial situation and how that information changes the power dynamic at every family gathering. Information is currency. And most people are throwing it into the street. You will also notice something else. People will start treating you differently. When you stop oversharing, people do not pull away. They lean in. They become more curious. They try harder to figure you out. They invest more energy in the relationship because they sense there is depth they have not yet accessed. Your value goes up because your accessibility goes down. This is not manipulation. This is just how human attention works. People value what is scarce and disregard what is abundant. And in a world where everyone is abundant with their personal information, the person who is scarce becomes precious. There is one more thing I want you to understand before we wrap this up. The goal of all of this is not to make you paranoid. The goal is to make you precise. Paranoia is fear without strategy. Precision is awareness with strategy. You are not afraid of people. You are simply aware of what people are capable of, and you are positioning yourself so that their capabilities cannot be used against you. There is a massive difference between living in fear and living with your eyes open. Fear shrinks you. Awareness sharpens you. And the principles I have just laid out are designed to sharpen you, not to shrink you. You will still have relationships. You will still care about people. You will still laugh, connect, and experience genuine moments of closeness. But you will do it from a position of strength rather than a position of exposure. And that changes everything. Because when you are exposed, every relationship carries a hidden weight. The weight of what they know. The weight of what they could do. The weight of the leverage you handed them. That weight is exhausting. And most people carry it without even realizing it. They feel vaguely anxious in their relationships without knowing why. They sense that they have given too much and cannot get it back. And that sense of having surrendered something permanent in exchange for something temporary eats at them quietly. When you stop sharing strategically, that weight disappears. You move through relationships with lightness because you have nothing hanging over you. You have no secrets sitting in someone else's mind waiting to be deployed. You have no vulnerabilities on display waiting to be pressed. You have given yourself the one thing that most people never have. The ability to walk away from any relationship, at any time, without leaving a piece of yourself behind. That is freedom. Not the freedom to say anything. The freedom to not have to. So let me bring this back to where we started. Every secret you share becomes a weapon. Not because people are evil. Because people are people. They change. They shift. Their interests diverge. And when they do, everything you gave them in trust becomes available for use. You cannot control what people do with what you tell them. But you can control what you tell them. And that control, that discipline, that refusal to hand over pieces of yourself just because the moment feels safe, that is the difference between being a person who is known and a person who is respected. Because being known is not being respected. Being liked is not being protected. And every room you unlock for someone is a room you can never lock again. Stop unlocking rooms. Start guarding the keys. The most powerful people in the world are not the ones who are most understood. They are the ones who are least understood. They are the ones who move through the world with a quiet depth that everyone senses but no one can fully access. They are warm but not transparent. They are present but not exposed. They are engaged but not uncovered. And that combination, that warmth behind a wall, that is what makes someone dangerous in the best possible way. Dangerously clever. Dangerously composed. Dangerously free. The ruthless art Machiavelli perfected is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming untouchable. And untouchability does not come from pushing people away. It comes from holding yourself together so tightly that no one can pull a piece of you loose. Right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you are ready. Right now. Start practicing the discipline of strategic silence. The next time you feel the urge to share something personal, something that reveals a weakness, a fear, a vulnerability, stop. Sit with the discomfort of holding it. Let the pressure build and then let it pass. Because that pressure is temporary. But the exposure you would have created is permanent. Choose the temporary discomfort over the permanent vulnerability. Every single time. And if you have made it this far, if you understand what I have been saying and you are ready to start living it, then say it. Say it in the comments. Say it to yourself. I am untouchable. Not because I am cold. Because I am controlled. Not because I do not feel. Because I do not reveal. Not because I am hiding. Because I am holding. I am untouchable. Write it. Mean it. Become it. And watch how the world shifts around you when it realizes it can no longer reach inside.